Today, we're going to talk about Surah Al-Kahf 18:109. Say, if the ocean were ink for writing the words of my Lord, the ocean would be exhausted before the words of my Lord were exhausted, even if we brought the like of it as a supplement. I'm Cleofe from the Cleofe podcast. Let's move on to the deep dive, but as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to help spread the word. Also, if you like to contribute to our Dawah, spreading Islam all over the globe mission, then hit the join and thanks buttons. Now, Jack and Wilson, we'd love to hear your deep dive.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling, not just a big idea, maybe the biggest idea possible. And it's wrapped in this physical image it's pretty extreme. It really changes how you think about scale.
It really does.
Forget, like, a big inkwell or even a sea. We're talking about the entire ocean, all of it, every drop on Earth turned into ink. And imagine using all that unimaginable amount of ink, just for one thing. Writing down the words of the divine. That's the kind of thought experiment we're jumping into.
Yeah, it's an analogy designed to just stop you in your tracks, really.
Yeah.
Because it sets up this standard that's what it feels impossible.
Right.
So our mission today is pretty clear. Let's unpack what this image means, what its implications are, and we're focusing specifically on one really powerful Quranic reference.
Just one verse driving all this.
One core verse, yeah. It's all about exploring the absolute boundlessness of Allah's essence, His knowledge. The source material describes it as fundamentally infinite, completely beyond our ability to fully express.
Okay, so which verse is it? Let's get specific.
It's Quran, chapter 18, verse 109, Al-Kahf 109.
Got it. And the verse itself, it sets up this huge comparison, but then kind of pulls the rug out.
Exactly. The quote is incredibly simple, but so deep. It says, if the ocean were ink for writing the words of my Lord, the ocean would be exhausted before the words of my Lord were exhausted.
Wow. Okay. The ocean would run out first.
Run out completely. It's like a conceptual magic trick, as you said. It takes the biggest physical thing we know on Earth, the ocean, our planet's defining feature.
Yeah, massive.
And then shows it's totally insufficient for the task. You've got this finite volume, the ink, right? Measured against infinite content, the words of the Lord.
It's the ultimate container versus contained problem. The ocean is huge, yes, but you could, in theory, measure it. It has limits.
Precisely. If you started writing, that ink source would eventually, inevitably run dry.
But the words themselves, they just keep going.
They never end. The exhaustion of the ocean, that's a physical limit. We can grasp that idea, But the words not being exhausted, that points directly to the infinite nature of the divine essence. It's beyond expression, beyond measure. We spend our lives trying to box things in, categorize them. But this verse tells you right away you're dealing with something outside those rules. It's like an immediate lesson in limitlessness itself.
Okay, that lays the groundwork. But let's dig into what that means, because it feels like more than just poetry, right? It sounds like an instruction on how we should view reality.
Definitely.
So if the subject itself is infinite, what does that tell us about, us? About our attempts to describe it or record it or, capture the divine using our own very limited tools?
Well, it demands a certain humility, or profound descriptive humility. If you look at the wider context in the sources, it's clear, no matter how much effort you put in.
Like, even if you had infinite paper.
Right, or infinite hard drives, whatever. No matter how much you write, it will never be enough to fully capture His greatness, His majesty.
That raises a question for me, though. If you know it's impossible, if the ocean's going to run dry before you even get properly started, why even begin writing? Doesn't that make the effort kind of futile?
That's a great point, but no, not futile at all. The sources emphasize it's not about completion, it's about devotion, it's about the active realization through the effort. Think of the ocean not just as literal ink, but as, like, the sum total of all human descriptive power. Every language, every book, every philosophy trying to explain existence.
All of it combined.
All of it. Even with all that, the task of fully recording divine majesty wouldn't even properly begin. You'd hit a capacity limit eventually.
So the sheer scale of the subject just dwarfs any tool we have. The effort shows our ambition, maybe, but the analogy shows the sheer magnitude of the thing we're reaching for.
Exactly. No earthly supply, whether it's water or words or data, could ever hold it all. And that's the core of that first implication. We have to recognize the limits of our own ability to articulate.
So the goal isn't finishing the book.
No.
It's understanding just how big the library is.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's the recognition that the subject completely overwhelms our descriptive tools. Like trying to empty a lake with a teaspoon. The effort might mean something to you, but the lake's fundamental nature is, well, it's unemptiable that way.
Right, right. Okay. So we accept the majesty as boundless. Now, you said this gets really interesting when we shift from greatness to knowledge. How does this boundlessness idea change how we think about knowledge itself?
Yeah, this is where it gets fundamental. Because if the words are infinite, it confirms that Allah's qualities, his knowledge, they are intrinsically without boundary.
Meaning, not just lots of knowledge, but a different kind.
Exactly. It's not just vast within a system we understand. It's that his knowledge is the system, and it transcends any finite system we could possibly build or imagine.
Okay, so does that imply there are things, aspects of this knowledge that are just fundamentally off limits to human reason, like no matter how smart we get or how good our science becomes?
Absolutely. The sources strongly suggest his knowledge transcends human understanding. It exists outside the very framework of our capacity to fully grasp or document it.
Wow.
I mean, think about our own brains. They're amazing, incredibly complex. But they're still physical structures. They're containers, right?
Finite container.
Finite containers.
Yeah.
We can learn aspects of that divine knowledge, sure. We develop science, theology, philosophy.
Yeah.
But the idea of ever mastering it or fully mapping it out, the exhausted ocean analogy basically rules that out.
Because our minds, our methods, even our language, they're all built on a finite scale, Earth scale.
Exactly. And the truth being described operates on an infinite scale. It's like
All right.
trying to measure gamma rays with a ruler. Your instrument just isn't built for that reality. You only perceive what your tool allows you to perceive.
Yeah. That's actually staggering when you think about it. It completely reframes the whole point of epistemology, the study of knowledge. It shifts from how do we know everything to something more like how do we humbly engage with the tiny sliver we can perceive?
Yes. It encourages a perpetual state of seeking, knowing the source can never run dry. It's not like a database you can eventually index completely.
It's always more.
Always infinitely more.
Hmm.
The words of the Lord represent a truth that fundamentally resists being fully cataloged by finite minds.
Okay, let's bring this back down to earth then, back to us talking right now. Using language. If the content is boundless, infinite, what does that mean for the words we're using? For human language itself?
This is maybe the final key takeaway from the sources, and it's deeply relevant for everyone, the limits we feel in language.
Yeah.
When you can't quite find the right words or fully express a deep feeling or spiritual insight.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
That's not a failure of language, according to this view. It's actually a necessary reflection of this deeper truth about infinite reality.
So our words are limited because the reality they're trying to point to isn't. The map isn't the territory, and our map is just like a tiny sketch.
A very rough sketch, exactly. Human language, by its very design, is a container for finite things, finite concepts, experiences, objects we can see and touch.
Nouns, verbs, adjectives for our world.
Right. It works brilliantly for that. But when you try to use that same container to hold the boundless, the infinite words, it just can't. It wasn't built for that.
So it's not a flaw. It's just the wrong tool for that specific infinite job.
Precisely. Think of language like a fishing net designed for, say, catching trout. Works great for trout. But divine truth, that's like trying to catch the entire ocean, or maybe a galaxy, with that trout net.
The net isn't broken. It's just not designed for galaxies.
Exactly. Its limits are inherent. They just show themselves when faced with the infinite. We're using finite tools to try and grasp something infinite, and the tools will always reveal their limitations in that confrontation.
That really puts a different perspective on things like silence or contemplation, doesn't it? If words inevitably fall short for the deepest truths.
It certainly raises profound questions about communication itself. How often do we really stop and think? The description I'm using, the label I've put on this, it's just a pointer, a proxy.
It's not the thing itself.
Not the infinite reality itself.
Yeah.
The limitation isn't some bug we need to fix. It's an absolute boundary, set by the very nature of what we're trying to describe.
That's a really powerful place to pause. We started this deep dive with one verse, Quran 18.109. Use the whole ocean as a measuring stick, only to find out that even that measure is completely inadequate. The core insight isn't just big, it's absolute, uncontainable limitlessness.
And maybe the final thought to carry away, the provocative question from the sources is this. If writing itself, just beginning to capture the divine, requires an ocean of ink, and even that runs dry, then what does that really imply about the true scope and depth of anything we claim to know, or express, fully using our finite languages.
Yeah.
How often do we mistake the label, the word, for the boundless reality itself? Maybe we need to constantly remember the inherent limits of our descriptive tools.
A vital check on our certainty. Thank you for walking us through that, and thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the ocean of words. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. I hope you've gained some valuable insights. If you're a truth seeker, yearning for divine light and ready to step out of darkness, now is your moment. The truth is that Allah is the one and only creator of the universe. He has sent over 124,000 messengers and prophets to guide humanity, starting with Adam and culminating with the final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. If you resonate with this message, you might be ready to embrace Islam. Simply recite the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. For further support, feel free to join our WhatsApp group. You can send us a private message there. The link is in the video description. Don't wait until it's too late. We look forward to connecting with you soon.